Well, in the year 2000, I think I'll probably be the spaceship to the moon dictating robots to robots. Or else I may be, I don't know, in charge of a robot court, judging some robots. Or I may be at the funeral of a computer.
I think it'll be much more efficient. Because there'll be more cures for the diseases, and not so many people will get sick.
I don't think it's going to be so nice. I think sort of all machines everywhere, everyone doing everything for you. You know, you'll get all bored, and I don't think it'll be so nice.
I think it'll be, people will be regarded more as statistics than as actual people.
In 1882, a theoretically homosexual German guy famously declared, "God is dead," as Western civilization's longest source of meaning took its dying breath. And now here, in the year of our Lord 2026, you're doom-scrolling goth girls on Reels while hoping a waifish bisexual in your screen can give you a cure for your terminally ill attention span. What's up with that? Also, stop trying to look at the comments and get back up here. The video just started. What's wrong with you? I'm gonna cut to the chase here, sport. You know as well as I do, it's not your phone, it's not the apps, it's not the internet that's the source of the crippling dissatisfaction gnawing at the remains of your soul. I'm not here to give you bullshit advice like the rest of the people on this hell site, fetishizing productivity or promising how childless avoidance in the form of screen timers, dumb phones, or going analog will solve your attention problems, give you the direction you've been yearning for, and stop you from gambling thousands of dollars on anime women. She's almost yours, bro. You got this. Just one more 10 pull. Just one more. You got this. That's all you need. That's it. That's it. I promise you all. I'd say it's hardly revelatory to say that these electronic Skinner boxes are just the symptoms and not the disease, but Jonathan Haidt has an entire career from pointing out that social media is turning your kids trans, so maybe not. That's why the many technological snake oils you've tried have done fuck all, and thus you finally ended up here in my lanky yet tender embrace. I'm also not here to just tell you to find meaning in your life, to touch grass, to read books, to start journaling, to get real life hobbies like firebombing ice agents or crochet, even though you should do both of those. I'm not your dad. I actually came back from my trip to the store, and I actually think that you can do something with your life. I just know that saying just find meaning is useless advice when given to people who are incapable of figuring that out. It's like telling a quadriplegic to go on a jog to clear their head. It's just insensitive. What I am here to tell you, though, is that old god that Nietzsche spoke of didn't just die on its own. It was replaced, dethroned by something it helped create, something so familiar we don't even think of it as a god. Technology. The elevation of one god requires the demotion of another, after all, and this one didn't even have the decency to announce itself. It just quietly took the throne while we were busy marveling at what it could do. "Thou shalt have no other gods before me" applies to technological deities just as it would any other. And just like the old god, there's a lot of people being exceptionally annoying and reductive about the new one. As the unstoppable lurch of entropy continues, more and more people have become spouting hate-pilled, doomer-centric rhetoric online around social media, about phones, the general internet bad sentiment that I have developed an escalating frustration with. People moralizing under these things, under the guise of wanting to protect the kids, to improve their mental health, to get their attention span back. There have been a billion of these moral panics over the years, and God, it is so exhausting to see yet another one creep out of the woodwork. All I see is a bunch of scared, lost souls so ready to correlate a causation that they'd cut off their own hands to keep themselves from accessing Instagram. Don't get me wrong here. The companies that have colonized the internet and our mobile gambling boxes work very hard to design the most psychologically exploitative systems imaginable, and the people who do this should be murdered, and not in a video game. But also, why does no one seem to care that every major piece of research says that social media has no impact on mental health at all? Why are people and institutions still viewing draconian content censorship, screen limitations, and full-blown bans as the optimal solution for these problems, despite them being provably ineffective? I owe so much of the beauty in my life to the internet, to my phone, and it really bothers the fuck out of me that this swelling wave of doom and gloom has blinded people to its potential. Honestly, how dare you, who say they want to improve themselves, improve the world, succumb to this propaganda and cede the second greatest invention man has ever created to an ever-encroaching horde of tech bro ghouls trying to grind you into biomatter to fuel their data centers. To limit or cast away the most powerful tool for connection, empowerment, discovery, and the ability to hit the subscribe button and check out my Patreon. Please support my work. This website hates me. It hates me so much. Where's your chutzpah? What kind of revolutionary are you? Today, I'm fixing that broken brain of yours. Oh, and what's the #1 greatest invention, you ask? We got another god to deal with. When I say technology, you're probably thinking beep boop bop technology. Phones, laptops, wires, apps, algorithms, that Boston Dynamics robot that's doing sick backflips that isn't very concerning to watch. See, that's not technically wrong, but it is incomplete. Technopoly by Neil Postman is going to be our North Star for this, dear viewer, because it was helpful in crystallizing the untethered mass of internal yelling that is my own thoughts on the matter, and I cannot in good conscience keep this resource to myself. Also, I know y'all can't read, so I'm going to read it for you. Postman cites the author Paul Goodman in saying that technology is a branch of moral philosophy, not of science. Technology isn't just machinery, it's any systems of procedures, rules, or methods that shapes how we act, think, or relate to each other. Every technology carries what Postman calls an ideological bias, a predisposition to construct the world as one thing rather than another, to value one thing over another, to amplify one sense of skill or attitude more loudly than another. To a man with a hammer, everything looks like a nail. To a man with a camera, everything looks like an image. To a man with a computer, everything looks like data. And to a person with a screen time app, every problem looks like too many minutes on your phone. Did you know that a grading system is a technology? Before 1972, no one had ever formally assigned a number or a letter to a student's thoughts. Then a tutor at Cambridge named William Farish invented the practice. And now, we can't imagine education without it. The idea that a human mind's output can be quantified is a technology, even though it involves nothing more than some letters and numbers. I'm sure this hasn't had any serious ramifications whatsoever. An IQ test is a technology, a poll is a technology, a bureaucratic form is a technology, management is a technology, clothes are a technology. Call me communion, because I'm a cracker with the juice, baby. There are no wires and circuits in any of these, but procedures and rules designed to standardize how people behave and prevent me from causing another uprising at work. Language itself is a technology, and one of the most important ones, because it instructs us not only in the names of things, but more importantly, what things can be named. These kinds of invisible technologies are the most dangerous, those that do their work without criticism or even awareness. We don't see them shaping us because we just assume that they're just how things are done. They're natural, they're inevitable, they're neutral, they're common sense. Now I'm sure you're thinking, Noah, you're looking dripped out as fuck today. And to that I say, thank you. I know. But you're also thinking, if technology has always carried ideological bias, even if language is a technology, why does it feel like things are different now? Why does it feel like the tools are running us instead of the other way around? It's because something did change, you hot piece of ass. Not technology itself, but technology's relationship to everything else. For most of human history, technologies were tools. Like my handmade wooden spoon that you all loved so much in the last video, I'm bringing it back. You're welcome. They solved specific problems. They served purposes that came from outside technology itself, like religion, tradition, ethics, cosmology. A water mill grinds grain. A cathedral glorifies God. A sword follows the code of the warrior who wields it. Tools had biases, but those biases were checked by a larger framework. The tools didn't set the agenda, the culture did. This isn't about technological simplicity, mind you. Medieval Europe was highly technological, with clocks, sophisticated agriculture, and engineering achievements that still ball hard to this day. But it was a tool-using culture because tools did not attack or more precisely, were not intended to attack the dignity and integrity of the culture into which they were introduced. People knew why they lived. They had answers to the fundamental questions. Where do we come from? What are we here for? How should we live? Obviously, some of the answers were questionable, but technology served those answers. It didn't replace them. Theology or metaphysics set limits on what technology could claim. You could invent a new machine, but you couldn't invent a new meaning for existence, or else the church would probably not like that very much. That was not technology's job. Until technology started to get a little... People love to bring up that hypothetical about going back in time to kill baby Hitler or whatever, but I'd go back in time to kill the fuck-ass monk that invented the clock, because it was all downhill from there, bro. The clock is the clearest example of a technology arising which bends culture instead of the other way around. Monks invented mechanical clocks to regulate prayer. 7 devotions a day, marked by bells, a tool in the service of God. Something, something, something. Now I have crippling time anxiety about being on time to functions I don't even want to go to. The clock carried an idea that time was divisible and measurable. And once that idea escaped the monastery, it reorganized everything. Work became measured in hours, efficiency became possible to calculate, the accursed phrase, time is money, was born into existence. The mechanical clock, as Lewis Mumford wrote, made possible the idea of regular production, regular working hours, and a standardized product. The monks wanted to serve God more precisely. They accidentally invented the operating system for capitalism. This is technocracy. The ideological bias inset in the tools started to win. They began overriding tradition, religion, ethics. Technology stole authority. It started to redefine what counted as truth, as knowledge, as progress. The printing press did it to religious authority. Suddenly, everybody could read the Bible and interpret it themselves. The telescope did it to cosmology, and after some quabbling and a few stake burnings here and there, the Earth wasn't at the center of the universe anymore. Important thing to mention, though, is that in a technocracy, the old worldview is still present. It's wounded, it's challenged, it's losing ground, but it is functional. Two systems of meaning coexisting in intense tension. People still had holy men and sin, regional pride, traditional notions of family life, ritual, and myth. One could marvel at the steam engine and still believe your life had meaning that the steam engine couldn't provide. However, you could only fight for so long until someone wins. Goddamn. This and the Crunchwrap Supreme really give fire and sliced bread runs for their money. Technopoly is what Neil Postman calls a totalitarian technocracy. All other lenses of viewing the world are snuffed out, and technology is the only one that remains. It's the submission of all forms of cultural life to the sovereignty of technique. There's no longer an external value system capable of checking technology's biases. Technology becomes the source of meaning, the framework for truth, the answer to every question. Technopoly eliminates alternatives to itself in precisely the way Aldous Huxley outlined in Brave New World. It does not make them illegal. It does not make them immoral. It does not even make them unpopular. It makes them invisible and therefore irrelevant. How does it do this? Language is a technology, so it redefines everything. What we mean by religion, art, family, politics, history, truth, privacy, intelligence, so that our definitions fit these new requirements. Education becomes skill acquisition, community becomes a platform, intelligence becomes a number. All of these words remain, but they have been hollowed out and rebuilt before we even knew what happened. This is where all those invisible technologies become truly dangerous. In a tool-using culture, a grading system would have been questioned. Does it serve God? Does it coexist with tradition? Does it respect the dignity of the student? But in Technopoly, those questions aren't even an afterthought. The origins and effects of those technologies aren't even considered. A grading system just is. BMI just is. IQ just is. Screen time just is. We no longer have a framework from which to ask whether these questions serve human purposes because we no longer have a shared sense of what human purposes are. When a method of doing things becomes so deeply associated with an institution that we no longer know which came first, the method or the institution, then it is difficult to change the institution or even to imagine alternative methods for achieving its purposes. This is where we are, surrounded by techniques we don't recognize as techniques, shaped by invisible technologies, living inside a system that has redefined the words we use to think so that we are unable to articulate what's been lost. But Hank Green made a gamified focus app where you can take care of little bean man in your phone to trick yourself into being productive. Isn't that so fucking cool? The big question, obviously, is why did technology win? Why did technopoly become the invisible walls that contain us? Why did alternative thought worlds lose to this one? Well, it's because over the last couple centuries, we have systematically dismantled every previous framework of meaning, and technology was the only one left standing. Nietzsche announced that God was dead. Darwin made it clear that we had come to be through a longer and less dignified route than we had imagined. Marx argued that history had its own agenda. Freud thought that we had no understanding of our deepest minds. John Watson showed that free will was an illusion. Einstein told us there was no means of judging anything. What was left? What survived? Technology. Amid the conceptual debris, there remained one thing to believe in: technology. Whatever else may be denied or compromised, it's clear that airplanes do fly, antibiotics do cure, radios do speak, and computers do calculate and never make mistakes. Only faulty humans do. And so we turned to technology not just for solutions, but for meaning. And technology cannot provide meaning. It can only provide technique. But we have reached a point where almost no one can differentiate between the two. That's why the war on screen time is a moral panic dressed up as self-improvement, and the endless solutions being offered are just more of the same disease. As Postman warned, when a culture tries to employ technology itself as a means of providing clear direction and humane purpose, it is an effort mostly doomed to failure. The greatest invention of the 19th century was the idea of the invention itself. We had learned how to invent things, and the question of why we invent things had become completely irrelevant. Because why would it? Why should we even need it? We have all the new guiding principles we need: objectivity, efficiency, expertise, standardization, measurement, and progress. And this engine of technological progress worked at peak performance when people were no longer seen as real human people, but as consumers, as markets. That's why I said at the beginning, the problem isn't the social media box you put in your ass after you turn on Vibrate and post Asmongold was right on Twitter. Social media, smartphones, the internet, not the disease. It's a symptom of technopoly's triumph in making technology the only thing we believe in without even realizing it. We use the light of our screens to foolishly guide us through the void left by the collapse of these old thought worlds. It's why I said I'm not here to tell you to find meaning, because how can I? We've done such an incredible job of shooting every traditional Sherpa of meaning in the back of the head. And these solutions being sold, they're technopoly's answer to a problem technopoly created. More technique, more technology, more tools promising to do your thinking for you, to divine your answers from numbers, to sell you technique disguised as meaning when you're none the wiser but more the poorer. And this continues to endure because of one very simple reason. It's very profitable. Nietzsche's "God is dead" quote, it is something loved by internet nihilists as well as people who want to disprove internet nihilists. But have you ever actually heard the full quote? God is dead, God remains dead, and we have killed him. Yet his shadow still looms. How shall we comfort ourselves, the murderers of all murderers? What was holiest and mightiest of all that the world has yet owned is bled to death under our knives. Who will wipe the blood off us? What water is there for us to clean ourselves? What festivals of atonement, what sacred games shall we have to invent? Is not the greatness of this deed too great for us? Must we ourselves not become gods simply to appear worthy of it? Oh, and you read my citation right, by the way. The book that quote is from is called The Gay Science. Outstanding. Since you're so smart and handsome, I'm sure you know that this is specifically talking about the dismantling of Christian authority, a decentering of the idea of absolute truth and meaning, just like I hinted at earlier in the beginning. Christianity's regard for truth as the highest value gave birth to the conditions of the possibility for the Enlightenment, a movement which would end up destroying the Christian mythos, its system for truth, morality, and one of many limiting forces on technological bias. Free will! Yay! Now we have an infinite number of ways to exist, none of which approach a truth greater or lesser than any other. Sounds pretty neat, right? Well, our angsty little boy Nietzsche saw some problems. He found that concept to be somewhat horrifying, primarily because most people will never actually be able to reckon with it. I mean, it's probably too frightening for people formerly devoted to God to see themselves as God's murderers. And even for those who do recognize what happened, the emergence of a grounded human freedom inherently implies a limit, a horizon, as opposed to an infinitely vast divine. So they'll be too afraid to create their own conditions for meaning independent of a larger governing authority. Very cool. So what do? They scavenge. They pick through the remains of the dead in the crypts of old moral systems. Nietzsche was right about the impulse. He even saw the shape of what was coming, the way people would erect new gods in secular drag without recognizing them as gods. But I don't think even he predicted how seamless that transition would be. People didn't just scavenge the old, they adapted to the new one without even noticing the swap. The solely technological-oriented truths of technopoly became how things are. The ultimate truth delivered not through biblical recitation, but through numbers and technique. That is how we ended up here. Not because technology got more powerful, even though it did, the crunchwrap supreme goes absolutely crazy mode, but because everything capable of resisting it got weaker. Like me, incapable of resisting a crunchwrap supreme. We built school systems to produce workers for technopoly and made the most profitable workspaces the equivalent to churches for this new god of efficiency and objectivity. And those biases swelled into a great void of desperation for a thing we don't even know how to name anymore. And then we did the only thing we know how to do with that void. We institutionalized it. Philosophers may agonize over the questions, what is truth? What is intelligence? What is the good life? But in technopoly, there is no need for such intellectual struggle. Machines eliminate complexity, doubt, and ambiguity. They work swiftly, they are standardized, and they provide us with numbers that you can see and calculate with. Screen time, 4 hours and 23 minutes. Steps today, 8,247. Followers, 12.4 thousand. Engagement rate, 3.2%. Sleep score, 78. BMI, 32. IQ, 107. Performance review, 3 out of 5. Adequate, but room for improvement. You're going on a PPI. These numbers become the measure of life, not because they capture anything meaningful, but because they're there. They're objective, they're precise. They give us something solid to hold on to amidst the rampant conceptual debris we find ourselves surrounded by. And we just believe it. We yearn for wonder for them like they're magic, modern expressions of the arcane, which flabbergast us with their accuracy. Literally astrology for tech bros, like straight up, that's what this is. We're so busy tracking and documenting these numbers that we forget to ask whether they measure anything at all that matters. Until technopoly's profits decide that for us. Enter Jonathan Haidt, the modern face of the social media panic. He's made books and articles about how phones are destroying the children. Social media is rewiring their brains and turning them gay. Oh Lord, have mercy. He has so much data to back it up. He must be right, right? Wrong. People way smarter than me have pointed out that his studies have errors, the effect sizes are too small, or they either don't support or straight up say the opposite of what he's claimed, finding that depression occurs before social media use, not the other way around. This of course isn't to say that screens have no effect on how we've come to think and move through the world. Of course they do. It's changed us just as the printing press and the telegram and the photograph have before them. But the apocalyptic framing isn't science. It's what Postman calls scientism. The belief that the study of human behavior, when conducted according to the rigorous principles established by the physical and biological sciences, will produce objective facts, testable theories, and profound understandings of the human condition. Hate and people like them who probably want to fuck bar charts believe that these analyses and numbers and social sciences can unlock the secrets of the human heart and tell us how to optimize society. But as Postman observed, social science theories like these disappear because they're boring, not because they're refuted. Like, you can't falsify Haight's claims in this environment that we live in. You can't point out that his data is correlation meets causation cranked to the extreme. You can only decide if his story is compelling. And his story is compelling to a culture that worships data, distrusts human judgment, and believes that the right technique will fix everything. That's why we're rushing to bans and restrictions. Oh, think of the poor children, but not the ones who are being bombed in Palestine. We don't care about those. Oh, or the ones who are abused in the Epstein files pass, or the ones who live in rampant child poverty every day. No. Mass surveillance and censorship from anti-trans, anti-woke nut jobs is exactly what we need instead of making, universal healthcare a thing. But Haight offers so many numbers, so many studies, so many graphs that appeal to our natural sensibilities. And we love it when people do that. We just love it. In Technopoly, the machinery of scientific authority is enough. And we don't ask whether the numbers measure anything that matters. We don't ask whether correlation implies causation. We see data and assume absolute verisimilitude is present without batting an eye. And to be clear, data isn't inherently bad. It's just wildly misused. Like W.E. Du Bois' infamous charts using beautiful graphs and data to highlight racial disparities are an incredible use of properly cited data, also made into some of the most beautiful charts you will ever see in your life. But that isn't what we're fucking doing now. I found one of those I stopped using my phone for 30 days videos, and the dude who did the challenge actually got his brain scanned before and after he stopped using his phone and made an effort to go outside and travel and do different things in the world.
I met John and Tara, who would be administering my scan, which consisted of an attention test, cognitive function tests like how well I can remember patterns, and a QEEG brain map, where 19 electrodes would monitor my brain and determine where I have too much or too little brain activity. I would get the results of this part in a week, but the results from the first 2 tests were ready instantly, and...
Okay, not so horrible, seen better, but not so horrible. Accuracy is where you got killed. Sustained attention. So keeping your attention on the task at hand is really the struggle for you. You're in the 1 percentile.
Oh, that's bad.
That's bad.
And you want to know something fucking crazy? At the end of that time, it went up.
These results are remarkable. You have 3 very potent pieces of quantitative measurement that show dramatic change in 30 days. It's like the phone itself, that thing, that experience you were having with it was a draw, bringing your performance down.
It's almost like if you put effort into making meaningful tasks and actively engaging with the world around you and not only doing one thing like scrolling your fucking phone all day, your brain activity is gonna go up. Fucking riveting, insane discovery. A true modern Einstein. Give this man a fucking Nobel Prize or whatever. The most irritating thing about this whole kerfuffle that we have ourselves in is there are legitimate concerns about technology. So many, all of the time, but they're not the ones who are getting airtime. One example of Postman tracing this human detachment from technology is throughout the history of medicine. In 1816, a French physician named René René Laennec? French guy invented the stethoscope. A simple device, really, a wooden tube that lets doctors hear the heart and lungs of patients more clearly. Seems like a pure step towards progress, right? Wrong. Doctors at the time raised an objection that now sounds almost prophetic. Interposing an instrument between patient and doctor would transform the practice of medicine. These traditional methods, questioning patients, taking their reports seriously, making careful observations, would become increasingly irrelevant. Doctors would lose their ability to conduct skillful examinations and rely more on the machinery rather than their own experience or insight. I know some people are thinking right now about the shitty dismissive doctor's appointments that they've had, especially if you're a woman or a person of color. The physician in the last 2 centuries has gradually relinquished his unsatisfactory attachment to subjective evidence, what the patient says, only to substitute a devotion to technological evidence, what the machine says. He has thus exchanged one partial view of disease for another. 2 ideas took hold as a result of this: that medicine is about the disease and not the patient, and what the patient knows is untrustworthy. What the machine knows is reliable. Sound familiar? Today, doctors order CAT scans they know are unnecessary because patients expect them. Because if you don't use all available technology, you're seen as negligent. Because we've been trained to trust machines over human judgment, including our own. Looking at you people who look at WebMD to check what might be wrong with them and think that they might have cancer, that's me. That's me, I'm people. This is a real concern, not screen time is destroying our children's brains. We've lost the ability to trust human judgment. We defer to machines even when they tell us nothing useful. And we've built systems to punish people for not using technology indiscriminately. We're seeing in real time technopoly's mindless worshippers build AI doctors that do fucking everything and are also unbelievably wrong. Goodbye, brave soldier. You served me well. This mindset is the exact mentality that gives us the infinite vials of snake oil that people peddle while complaining about the fucking problem. I swear to fucking God, if I see one more influencer making a video warning about social media while peddling fucking headspace, bro, I'm gonna lose my goddamn mind. I'm gonna lose my all flavor of dorks online, from productivity-pilled gurus to horribly naive crunchy moms, endlessly call upon screen time restrictors, dumb phones, gadgets to apps, so many apps, dude. Elevate, the Humane Space, Brick, Motion, Timo, Hero Assistant, Heirloom, Unhooked, Pigment, Headspace, Opal, Focus Friend. I would be here for 10 hours if I listed off all the ones that I have seen. Have you considered that maybe you're just a dumb, stupid baby? Do you want to read books in 15 minutes? Better get smart as efficiently as possible. So try these apps for micro-learning that all have self-improvement scam books like Atomic Habits for some reason. Seriously, they all have Atomic Habits. I fucking hate Atomic Habits. What about Candy Crush for geniuses? What about Tinder for productivity? What about Duolingo for emotions? Words don't mean anything anymore. What about an app about some dumb, stupid guy in your phone you get rewards for ignoring to trick you into actually doing stuff you want to do? God, I hate Hank Green's stupid fucking Bean app. Notice what all of these have in common. They are techniques. They are technologies in the expanded sense that we have been discussing. They promise to do your thinking for you. I'm not saying things like these cannot be useful, even though many of them are straight up scam garbage and you should entirely ignore them. But just putting a screen time limit ain't gonna fucking matter if you don't even know what your next move is gonna be. This is a core principle of technopoly, the idea that technique of any kind can do our thinking for us. You don't have to understand your relationship with technology. You don't have to develop judgment or intentionality. You just have to install the app, buy the dumb phone, let the system handle it. That's what makes all these digital pieces of landfill so insidious. These solutions don't look like technologies. A dumb phone looks like the absence of technology. A screen time limit looks like discipline, not technique. A digital detox looks like an escape from technopoly, not a submission to it. But these are exactly the disguised technologies Postman warned about. Things like a screen time app has an ideological agenda. It assumes the problem is quantitative rather than qualitative. It assumes the solution is restriction rather than understanding. It assumes that you cannot be trusted to make judgment, so the technique must make that judgment for you. Just like the CAT scan, just like the stethoscope, we've learned to defer to the machine's reading over our own sense of whether something is wrong. These people buying dumb phones think they have escaped. They have not. They have just adopted a different technique, one that still operates under Technopoly's core assumption, that the right tool will save you. If the screen time apps disappeared tomorrow, your habits would be exactly the same. If you lost your dumb phone and had to use a smartphone again, you would be back exactly where you started. Postman put it this way: though it is sometimes possible to use a disease as a cure for itself, this only occurs when we are fully aware of the processes by which the disease is normally held in check. The condition for technology solving technology's problems is understanding. These solutions skip that step entirely. They're not teaching you to relate to technology differently. They are just swapping one technique for another and hoping that the substitution sticks. Consider the genre of "I quit my phone for X amount of days" videos. The creator goes offline, discovers presents, touches grass, has meaningful conversations, watches sunsets. So many of these end in, "Wow, it really was the phone. The world is so beautiful." And people seem to neglect to realize that they had purpose during those 30 days. They were making a video. They had a project, a goal, a drive in pursuit of something. The problem wasn't the phone. The phone wasn't the variable. The purpose was. Just don't use your phone is advice that only works if you have something else to do with your life. If you have somewhere to be, someone to become, something to build, then the phone becomes a tool to pick up and put down. If you don't, then no matter of restriction will save you. You will find another void to fall into. The variable reward psychology is real. The slot machine mechanics are real. The companies are culpable and should be burned to the fucking ground. But the hooks only work in you because you have nothing else pulling you in the opposite direction. And that aimlessness isn't a personal failing. It's a cultural condition. Economic precarity, collapsed community, alienation, no future to believe in, climate doom, political helplessness, the sense that nothing you do matters, that systems are too big for change, that the best you can hope for is distraction. Blaming individuals for phone addiction is like blaming individuals for obesity while ignoring food deserts, corn subsidies, and BMI being a bullshit measure of health anyways. The shitty companies designing addictive products are culpable, but they're exploiting a vulnerability that was already there. They didn't create this void. They simply monetized it. The serene peacefulness of a digital detox is a mirage, an artificial avoidance of real problems, not a solution to them. If you shut off completely, you're not practicing a form of self-love and discipline. You're abandoning the world and depriving it of all you can offer. The goal isn't serenity here. The goal is engagement, but on your terms, for your purposes. So obviously, the last big question, what does that look like? You ever meet someone and realize that they're a true force of nature? Like, not in a thunderous, violent way, like an earthquake or a thunderstorm, but like standing in front of a calm ocean, like watching leafless trees sway during the winter, knowing that they'll be full in a few months' time. I got a random message from someone almost 6 months ago now that invited me into a community, and I quickly realized that they were such a pillar of it. Everyone loved them. I thought that they must have been 8 people in one for how much they did. Always organizing, always doing community action, always offering to help with anything for anybody, all while somehow casually talking to me and exchanging the absolute worst memes you've ever seen every single day. It's really selfish of me to say this, but when I found out they were gone, I was angry that I couldn't learn from them anymore. Adnan, a proud Syrian disability advocate, Sopranos lover, they moved through the world with a level of constraint I can't know and did so much that I wish I could do. They had used these tools that I had been fumbling around with like a child with blocks to help so many people, to bring like-minded folks together, learning and sharing and building this perpetual motion engine of action and change that I am genuinely humbled to be a part of, let alone to be able to call someone capable of that my friend. Really made me realize that I had a long way to go to do something like that. And it cemented my belief that fighting and running away from this technology and everything it can do instead of using it to break free from the constraints around it is cowardice and ignorance, not freedom. I was always terrible at finding meaning and purpose for myself. I get tired and confused and deflated all the time, but whenever I see somebody like them, it just centers me. It's in the action. It's that movement in the pursuit of something better beyond yourself, regardless of what barriers might be there, even if you feel stuck or slip backwards from time to time. It's about balancing that eagle-eyed cautiousness combined with blinding optimism, being a true, loving resistance fighter. That kind of bad with the good will always be there, just like the inevitable grief of losing somebody is inseparable from the joy of knowing them. And I think that meaning blooms when you don't let one stop you from experiencing the other. And I'm forever grateful that Adnan reminded me of that again. Thank you so much, friend. I'll make sure to tell you that in person next time around. Hello, I'm editing right now, and I realized that I fucked up the audio for the Patreon scroll, that I'm sitting here because I didn't have my fucking microphone even on, like a dumb idiot baby. Anyways, that's what we're doing now, here, spontaneously, as I'm editing this. Yeah, this video was hard and fun, and thank you to patrons. You're all very cool. This video probably won't be monetized because of the music and some of the footage in it. So if you like my stuff and you're not on the Patreon, you're not giving me your hard-earned dollars to entertain you in the most ridiculous way. If you want to do that, you can. That would be pretty cool. I'm just saying, you don't have to, but that would be pretty cool. Anyways, yeah, thank you. Thanks. I spent a long time on the visuals trying to actually make a video that looks something beyond bisexual drinking Capri Sun on a shitty green screen this time, and that was cool. And yeah, I want to do more stuff like that. I think, you know, the fact that I'm a designer in real life, I should probably do a little bit. I should probably do a little bit more of that in my videos, which has been fun and cool this time. Anyways, thank you. No idea when the next video is gonna come out, but but I'm working on it, and or another one. I don't know. I have ideas, but yeah. Okay. Bye.